and welcome to the Odgers Berndtson Scale Up Collective. I'm Chris Hamilton, Global Head of Life Sciences.
And I'm David Bell, Head of the Scale Up Collective here in London.
We're really thrilled today to be joined by Peter Dines, Managing Director of Mercia Ventures. Peter, thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Listen, why don't we start by asking you to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about what you do today, but also the route that you took to become an investor and a leader in the business where you are now.
Sure. So I'm Managing Director of Mercia Ventures. We're one of the UK's most active seed to Series A investors, with a team of about 50 people within our venture capital business. And I came to venture capital having started life as an entrepreneur. So I founded and grew a spinal implant and orthopedic implant business, which I successfully exited, and also then founded and grew a diagnostic service provider business, and joined Mercia Ventures 8 years ago.
And it's been a good 8 years. What have been some of the highs and maybe the less highs for you?
No, it's all good. I mean, I really enjoy working with early stage companies, and I enjoy taking seats on the board. I can hopefully, from my personal experience, I always say I've probably made every mistake you could possibly make running my businesses. So hopefully I can help support a number of our portfolio CEOs and their leadership team to grow and scale their business.
In fact, Peter, that's interesting actually, because obviously David and I and our colleagues, we work day in, day out with organizations that are kind of smaller, still earlier in their journey, but going through that scale up. I mean, does your industry background, I mean, do you feel that kind of very heavily influences how you now sit at the head of a ventures business, how you engage with companies in your portfolio?
Yeah, and there is no doubt running, growing, scaling a company is hard. And particularly being a CEO is a lonely role. So I think having the empathy for that, and most importantly, in my leadership role within a venture capital firm, is helping the rest of my colleagues also to understand the empathy and the position that the leadership teams are in is a really important part, because it's too easy to look in the rearview mirror and to look at numbers, when actually numbers are an important part of growing a business, but there are many other important parts. And the key phrase we often use here at Mercia is we should be putting an arm around and supporting our companies and our leadership teams, and always looking forwards rather than in the rearview mirror.
And Peter, how do you see the current economic environment? What's the sort of mood across the investor community and the founders and leaders you're working with?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I have to say I'm pretty schizophrenic on the answer. So we're seeing the good, bad, and the ugly, I suppose. So a number of companies where they're looking for Series B, Series C funding. That's a challenge at the moment, and I think all our peers are seeing that as well. At the seed Series A stage, there's actually, for good companies, it's still quite competitive. So I think there is capital out there. And certainly we're seeing a number of competitive processes for companies, for new investments. And I'm really pleased to say, actually, for good companies, with the M&A environment is still happening. So we sold what was our largest asset in May, a company called Evotix, which is a health and safety software business, to a US-backed PE acquirer. A very competitive process and a very good outcome for our fund investors. So as I say, I think it's the good, bad, and the ugly at the moment.
Fair enough. And any implications for those businesses that are looking to scale? Is there anything in the current economic environment that people need to be doing differently than maybe they were in the good times?
In the crazy times. So I mean, this isn't new news, but I think most companies are now being advised to actually manage their cost base, manage their runway. Certainly, Series B and follow-on and crossover funds are very focused on burn rates, whereas it used to just be growth rates, possibly at growth at any cost. Those days are definitely gone. So and that's probably not a bad thing, because I suppose I'm old-fashioned. Actually, you grow a company, but you grow a company to make a profit. And I think it had possibly gone a bit far the other way in terms of not really focusing on profit, and not whether that's gross profit or bottom line profit, not really focusing on cash. And so that those what arguably are good practices in any business. Everyone's been forced to do that, which is probably a good thing in the long run.
And it's interesting, actually. And do you find that you need a different kind of leader in this environment than maybe you've had in the kind of just grow at all costs, previously, and or, is that playing to your skill set around your kind of your leadership expertise across various challenges in the previous sort of economic downturns?
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily a different skill set, but it's certainly ensuring that the leadership and the wider board are listening and understanding to the macro environment. So I can think of a few cases where there was a genuine either denial or disagreement that the times had changed, and so if in those cases we have maybe had to reorganize things at the board, but generally I think there's everyone's sense of it. It's similar to in COVID. We really saw some really good management teams react well to the environment, and we're seeing it again at the moment, where some good sensible conversations and changing tack really in terms of direction.
Yeah, what are the magic ingredients you look for when there are probably opportunities, especially in the buoyant market, plenty of companies to acquire? The magic ingredients you look for in the business, in the product, but also in the people, when you think this is a really viable scale-up opportunity?
Yeah, I think, well, it's maybe a cliche, but it's still always about backing great people. And just, I suppose one thing I can share, which I suppose is a simple, but I think a good test personally, is when we're meeting founders, when we're meeting leaders, if they use the pronoun I versus we, I personally see that as a red flag, because I think you can develop a company to a certain level by it's all about me and it's I, but I think the great scale-up CEOs, they recognize that it's a team sport. And obviously this is where you guys come in as well to help make sure that there's an A team around them to really execute and to really scale. I think that's the critical thing, making sure that people understand their strengths, but also understand where they need to have additional strengths around them. That's the most important thing. Then obviously you've got to have product market fit. You've got to have a large addressable market, ideally a growth market, ideally get your timing right, all of those good things. But the people part is just so important.
Yeah. And do you is there generally a willingness of founders and founder teams to let go to a degree, so that they can bring leaders, they can delegate, they can start to hand over some of the leadership and the growth of the business to colleagues? Or do you find that something you have to work on with founder teams?
I think, without giving our secrets away, that's often what we're testing in early meetings. So there's a number of meetings, probably with a number of colleagues, asking different questions from different angles, and part of what we're assessing are the answers to those questions. So I wouldn't say any of us or any VC gets that right 100% of the time, but that's certainly what we're looking for, because as I mentioned earlier, it's just so important. I just an anecdote. We had an intern a few years ago who just spent 2 weeks with us just on work experience, and I always remember at the end of it, we were chatting about feedback, and they said, I'm amazed, because I thought when I came to a venture capitalist, you'd just talk about numbers, whereas actually all of your meetings, you're talking about people. And it was a really interesting insight that obviously we're living it every day, so it's normal to us. But it was really interesting that they had an assumption of what venture capital is, and actually it was very different from just spending 2 weeks with us.
It'd be great to get some of maybe Mercia's recent success stories and including a little bit about what Mercia offers, maybe portfolio businesses above and beyond the capital investment.
Sure, yeah. So there've been a few examples where I'd maybe say, because we're an early stage seed investor as well as with scale up Series A, Series B capital, there've been a few examples, really good examples of where we've been right at the beginning. Oxgene, which was a synthetic biology business, Native Antigen, which was an infectious disease antibody and antigen business, Fradian, a sodium battery technology business, and C7 Health, a diagnostic service provider. All of those businesses we were in right at the beginning. So we're helping shape and working with companies such as yourself, build out the board, build out the C-suite. We have something that we call Nucleus, which is effectively our value add proposition, which is in one way looking at talent, both for permanent talent within the company, but also then looking at how we do continuous professional development with portfolio companies, how we do knowledge sharing with other C-suite members of the portfolio. Are the particular projects where we can have a growth partner or operating partner to work with the company for a discrete project, and then are there experts that we need to find anywhere in the world. So we've built a kind of a network and a support mechanism that we call Nucleus, which basically provides all portfolio companies. And I'm pleased to say all four of those examples that I mentioned, they've grown, scaled, and exited successfully in the last couple of years. And our plan is just keep doing the same. I'd say we're based in 10 offices around the UK. Our strategy is on purpose to be out within the whole of the UK. So we're building networks locally, and then we're local to then support the companies.
And Peter, do you find that sense of mission, that kind of identity of Mercia, and how you look to work with companies in your portfolio, future businesses? I mean, do you find that really resonates with founder teams when they're looking for their first or maybe their second round investor?
Yeah, I think so. Putting my hat on the other side of the table, I think it's really important for any entrepreneur to when they're choosing their investor partner to make sure that it's a good fit. So it is going to be a marriage of it's going to be at least 7 years, possibly 12 years working together, and it's important that gut feel is felt on all sides of the table. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So I think investing time for all the parties is really important, and that alignment of mission, I think, is really important for sure.
Peter, thank you so much. You've been hugely insightful and engaging as always, and we wish you and the Mercia team and all of your portfolio companies nothing but success over the coming months and years.
My pleasure. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, David.
Very much.